Astrology, magic and divination. Astrology and magic were closely associated in Greco-Roman antiquity. This association was strengthened in the minds of the early Christians by their rejection of both practices and by regarding both together as derived from demons. Astrology was seen as a kind of magic. Simon Magus and Elymas, also known as Bar Jesus in the Acts of the Apostles, were blamed for their acts of astrology and other magic. Bar Jesus, Elymas. In Acts 13, Paul the Apostle and Barnabas traveled to the city of Paphos in Cyprus, where the Roman proconsul, Sergius Paulus, wishes to hear them speak about Jesus. Elymas, described as a false prophet and a sorcerer, opposes them, whereupon Paul announces that God intends to make Elymas temporarily blind. A cloud of darkness immediately begins blocking his sight. After this, Sergius Paulus is converted to Christianity. Ham, Nimrod, Zoroaster. According to pseudo-Clementine recognitions, after magic was invented by demons, it was then discovered by Ham the son of Noah, who in turn handed down this knowledge to his son Mesraim, the ancestor of the Egyptians, Babylonians and Persians. Mesraim is Hebrew word for Egypt as the son of Ham. This latter personage is said to have also been called Zoroaster, and as such is particularly associated with astrology in the text. Nimrod is said to have received the magic art from above as by a flash of lightning. In parallel versions of this story, the connection with Nimrod is evident in that the star which is invoked by Zoroaster is Orion, the catasterism of the great hunter. Baptism as salvation from astrology. Theodotus, as a Valentinian Gnostic, viewed baptism as winning over the evil powers. For Pauline view, baptism is seen as participation in Christ's death and resurrection, in the past, as well as anticipation of the believer's own future, physical, death and resurrection. The defeat of fate was believed to apply to the baptized only. Despite Christ's victory, the unbaptized were believed to remain under the power of fate. Theodotus writes that there is still fate for the others. Tertullian claims astrology remained valid until the coming of the Magi at the birth of Christ, but that science was permitted until the Gospel, so that after Christ had come from that point on no one should interpret a person's nativity from the sky. So any act of Magi after Christ was doomed. Miracles. In early Christian belief, miracles were regarded as proof of the defeat of astrological fate. For example, Arnobius argued that since bodily illness was caused by fate, the miracles of Christ proved that he had defeated fate. In the pseudo-Clementine homilies, Peter asserts that though he is unfamiliar with the details of astrology, yet his prayers that bring about healing from incurable illness are a sufficient refutation of astrological fate. In a new religion where faith is the source of salvation, the biggest rival was fatalism, the ancient belief of predeterminism. This was a difficult problem because Abrahamic religions claim to have an omnipotent, omniscient God. So if this all-powerful God controls everything, how is it different than before? And if this God determines everything, how can people change their fate by more prayer? A new idea, in fact, claiming the same thing with ancients, had difficulty in separating itself as a new religion. So we see very deep theological discussions about fate and astrology, magic in early Christianity.